Diaries of a Madman. Written by What Must I Do? Chapter 13. I didn't go to school for this. Part 1. Half a month after that little episode, I woke up on a train. The thing is, I didn't go to bed on that train. In fact, I had no knowledge of boarding a train. Hell, I didn't even have any knowledge of being asked if I wanted to go on a train ride. A quick look at the window told me I was most definitely no longer anywhere near Ponyville. I was still a human, at least, which I consider a plus. I also had a splitting headache, which kind of sucked. I quickly looked around me to see if there was anything of use. The first thing I found was a metal flask, which I quickly took a sip of, thinking it was water. It was not. Some manner of alcohol greeted my lips, at least it made my head feel a little bit better. I pocketed it and tried to remember what had happened the night before. The last thing I remembered was eating dinner with Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy, after one of our dancing lessons, which were now more about a few friends getting together than actually dancing. I remembered getting up to head home, and Pinkie Pie tried to convince us to stay a few more minutes for some contrived reason or another. I know I got outside, and after that was nothing. As my eyes adjusted to the dim light of the cabin, I ascertained another shape in the bed across from mine. I rolled out of my bed and almost fell on my ass, but managed to slip my feet under me at the last moment. I twisted my wings up, though. I still forget about them, some mornings. After getting to my feet and stretching, I poked the shape. Yep, that's Fluttershy. I poked her to see if she was anywhere near awake. She groaned and shifted, muttering something that sounded like 5 more minutes. I poked her a few more times until she sat up, bleary-eyed and confused. What the hell happened last night? I asked.
I don't know. The last thing I remember was eating with Pinkie Pie.
Damn it. I hope I didn't get kidnapped again. This shit has got to stop happening.
I'm sure it's not as serious as pony napping. Wait, have you been pony napped before?
Long story. I could tell you after we figure out where we are and where we're going. You good to walk? Yeah, Fluttershy's never gonna hear that story.
I think I'm fine. My head hurts, though,
She said as she tenderly got to her feet. We appeared to be in the middle of a cabin of a long train. I looked at the windows on both sides and saw more carts on each side. Should we split up and search, or stay together and search? Or wait here and hope for the best? I asked.
I think we should stick together. You know how most ponies are when it comes to you, after all.
More like she didn't want to be alone, but whatever. I know Fluttershy wasn't particularly brave. I didn't hold it against her. She had a point, if nothing else. Fine, we'll wait here. I wish I had some kind of weapon, though. I flexed my hands, letting my eyes run over the cabin again. It wasn't a very ornamented place, with relatively simple paneling and whatnot. I was thinking we were supposed to be sleeping the entire trip, but whatever caused the knockout didn't work as planned. I found a few interesting items in the glove box above my head. My crossbow, a quiver full of bolts, my knife, more alcohol, another long brown cloak full of pockets, and some snacks. I checked the little inlet cabinet above Fluttershy's bed and found yet another cloak and some more snacks. I just shrugged to Fluttershy and left the stuff on her bed for her. As for me, I started suiting up, hiding stuff in my cloak pockets. I checked the crossbow for any damage, finding that the sights were a little bit off. I couldn't correct them until I was able to shoot it, but it was good that I knew they were off. The bolts were fine, though the quiver I had wasn't the one I would choose for any real dangerous situation. They were all practice bolts. Enough to wound, but not to kill unless you got a lucky shot. Fluttershy was asking what I was doing when the cart door slid open. Before it was even finished opening, I was looking for cover to load the crossbow. My search was halted by the train juddering heavily and slowing down, and before I could resume my hunt, it was invalidated.
Oh, good, you're both already awake.
Pinkie Pie said way too loudly and way too happily. Fluttershy and I both flinched at the twinges in our heads. Assume there's a good reason we're on a train, I said. She opened her mouth, but I continued. And before you start yelling at us again, we both have a goddamn headache, so keep your voice down. She rolled her eyes, continued, quieter this time.
I need some help back on the family farm, but I didn't want to unduly worry any pony, so I didn't tell any pony. But I couldn't just let my family suffer, so I had to get some help, but I didn't know how without saying anything. And then I realized you're both my friends, and you wouldn't mind helping me. But, I think this is a problem Navarone is more suited to fixing. So why am I here?
Fluttershy asked.
I didn't know how to make a legitimate excuse to the others without including both of you, of course. So we're officially on a dance trip. Applejack was the only one that didn't completely buy it, so she had made sure that you would have something to help you just in case, Navarone.
So let me get this straight. You kidnapped us both, even though you knew we would say yes to helping you. You bundled us onto a train somehow. You got all my gear and a few cloaks, as well as some usual stuff from Applejack that I admit to being happy to have. None of our friends thought that was odd, except Applejack. You know we both have wings and can leave if we want, leaving you to deal with whatever it is by yourself. And yet you still expect us to willingly help you.
That about sums it up, yeah. You're really good at recapping, Nav.
I gently massaged my temples. Fluttershy, am I the only one seeing anything wrong with this? She just shrugged at me and mouthed,
Pinkie Pie.
I rolled my eyes. What the fuck ever. Tell us what's so important that you had to kidnap us for.
I think my family was adopted by Naga.
Oh, fuck. I moaned. Why did I bother waking up?
I don't understand.
Fluttershy said.
What's, Naga?
Of anyone, I expected you to know what a Naga is, I said. They're fucking snakefish people. Intelligent, tool-using snake people. Body and lungs of a snake, scales and gills of a fish. And they have human arms, I think. I didn't know there were any here. And what the hell are they doing near a waterless rock farm?
There used to be a massive spring system near my family's farm. It dried up before I was born, but the Nagas stayed there for some reason. We never asked why. They left us alone and we left them alone. Sometimes they would come by the farm to talk to my dad, but they never stayed long. But these past few months I was getting letters from my family talking about them more than usual. And then the letters just stopped. That was a month ago.
So how do you want to do this? I asked. Find their nest, fuck shit up, and pull off a Rambo-style rescue op? Or do you want to try to talk to these scalies first to see if they're up for some ransom? Or do you just want me to sneak in and steal them away in the night? Let me tell you, if you want me to kill them, you've got me the wrong set of bolts. As it turned out, the Rambo plan would have been a terrible idea.
I want to get my family out with as little risk to them as possible. We'll try asking the Naga first. If that doesn't work, we can try sneaking them out. Thanks for agreeing to help.
Oh yeah, it was looking to be a long, long day.
Why am I the ambassador again?
Fluttershy asked.
I don't know anything about Naga.
Because you're the animal expert, I'm sure you'll figure something out, I told her. Besides, it can't be me because I'm the trump card, and it can't be Pinkie Pie because she has to show me where to go to rescue you if everything goes wrong. I don't think that made her feel much better. We were in the field right outside of Pinkie Pie's farmhouse. We discovered her family was definitely missing, and had been for a little while. There were no bodies anywhere that I could find, so that wasn't really an issue. I managed to sight my crossbow in, though I knew if I was going to be looking through caves, I wouldn't be using it. Hell, even the knife was to be relegated to emergency use only. If it came to that, I was going to be using a club. Looking around the farmhouse, I could easily see why Pinkie Pie left the place. It was absolutely miserable. There was almost no sun, the earth was dry and cracking, and there was constantly dust in the air. It was hot even though we were nearing autumn. It looked like that someone had plowed the earth in some places, but without a tractor that would have taken forever, as dry as the place was. Who the hell farms rocks? I mean, Who buys them? When I asked, I just got that stop being stupid look. So, how do we go about summoning these Naga for a meeting? I asked. Do we just hope they come for us?
My dad taught me a trick back when they were still friendly, in case I was even far away from the farm and needed help. He said not to use it unless I really needed it, but that they would come if I wanted them. I never tried, but here goes.
With that, she let out a clear, loud whistle that pierced my ears and almost made me want to slit my own throat. After delivering it, she rushed me to the farmhouse, where we watched from the windows to see what they would do with a noticeably nervous Fluttershy. Nothing happened for a good long while, and I started to think nothing would. Then an errant thought came to my mind. They were hiding in a spring system. Those go miles in the ground, in all directions. Oh, shit. Pinkie Pie, is there a well anywhere near here?
Yeah, there's one right behind this building. Why? Oh!
We barely had time to hide before the Naga got out of the well and into the building, trying to find what had called them. They were oddly dressed in silky clothing, each one bristling with some manner of weapon. One had 2 axes strapped to his back, one was holding a massive spear, one had a sword and shield, and another one had a huge sword on his back, and one had spiked gloves. I want to call them the ugliest creatures I have ever seen in my life, but I'm sure they would think something similar if they saw me. They were all rather massive, each taller than I by at least a foot, and all wider in body than I. Trying to fight them would have been a bad idea. A bad idea. At least in a fair fight. They had relatively human-esque faces, with a barely defined snout jutting somewhat out of their face. Their torso was human in appearance, with human-shaped arms. Where their legs would be, a long tail snaked out behind them. What I could see of them was covered in scales. I was assuming the entire group in front of me was male. One of them was snarling, and had some disturbingly sharp teeth sticking out. It didn't take them long to look out the window and see Fluttershy. Thankfully, they somehow missed both me and Pinkie Pie. They chatted to themselves in guttural English, muttering at the indignity of being summoned in such a manner by a lone flyer. They thought about just leaving her, but decided since they had come all that way, to see what she wanted. When Fluttershy turned around and saw a group of Naga coming out of the farmhouse, her eyes got very wide and she almost fainted. If anything she expected, that was definitely not on the list. I wasn't able to hear the conversation that took place, but this was the gist of it, as reported to us. Where are the farmers? With us, for their safety. Safety from what? We can't tell you. Can we see them? Who is this we? Fluttershy is not a good liar. In fact, I would go so far as to label her perhaps the worst liar I've ever run into in my life. It was no surprise to find myself and Pinkie Pie rather roughly Naga-handled out of the farmhouse. They didn't know what to make of me.
What is this?
They asked a Pinkie Pie, who they did recognize. Name's Navarone, I answered for her. I'm a mercenary.
What pony would hire a mercenary? And what are you?
I'm a human, and a pony that wants to see her family again.
You don't look very dangerous for a mercenary. I hope she didn't pay much for you.
There were 5 of them and 1 of me. I didn't feel like being a hero, so instead of challenging him, I just said, "Looks can be deceiving."
Tell me then, mercenary, are your services for hire?
I'm in the middle of a job now. It's bad for business to take on one job before the other is completed.
A good code to live by. What if the payment of our job was what you needed to finish the other?
You'll have to ask my employer about that. Depending on the job, I might agree. But it's up to her whether I have the option. I like the Pinkie Pie.
Okay.
What's the job? I asked them. As it turned out, there were two groups of Naga in the area. An older group that had been there for a long time, and a new group that was trying to push the old one out. The new group was rather violent in their methods, and the older group didn't want Pinkie Pie's family hurt. Their differences were vast, yada yada. Go with this group of warriors and fuck their shit up. We were allowed to see Pinkie Pie's family before the group left, to prove the farmers were still there, and being treated well. Personally, I didn't care, and I was busy preparing for the coming battle. So while Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie were getting accolades from an exuberant farm family, I was getting ready for war. A war, mind, that I had no idea how to fight. Reading a lot of books and watching movies doesn't really prepare you for seeing someone roll out a tarp of weapons. I also saw my first Naga female. Their tails were a hell of a lot longer, and they actually had some manner of breasts too, which they didn't bother to cover up. They were mostly smaller than the males, but they were also still taller than I was, though a few of them matched my body size. I can't be tougher than everything in this world, but it still feels sad when even their women could probably overpower me. My part in their little plan they had was simple on paper, hard in practice. You see, the Naga can't exactly sneak around or be stealthy. They don't have feet, so any movement rasped their tails against the ground, and they were pretty shiny anyway. Any lighting hitting them would reflect off their skin or clothing. It was quite different for me, however. My predisposition to running the fuck away meant I was pretty good at hiding and sneaking around, so my job was to go in ahead of the main group and do as much damage as I could as fast as I could, as well as deep six any officer I saw. I was given a short sword and a much better quality knife for the job, something that probably qualified as a dagger. The knife I had from home was made for show, not for real use, especially not for use against scales. The crossbow I kept, since the other group was relatively new to the area. They weren't in the cave system yet. They were still above ground, so the crossbow might be useful when taking out sentries. I tied some of my bolts with cloth to light on fire if I needed to. The Naga had plenty of flint to spare and gave me a striker. I dipped the tips in alcohol to ensure they'd burn easier and longer. Now, I was under no illusions that I was or am a real fighter. I am not. I knew that if I went up against a real fighter, I would lose. The short sword was more for show than anything else. I have no practice with a sword, but I do know how to slit throats. I mean, how can you fuck that up? Blade goes across the throat, right? When the real fighting started, I was going to be sneaking around the battlefield and stabbing enemies in the back, then darting away again. And if all has failed, I would drop the cloak and fly away. None of these Naga had bows, so I was assuming none of the other side did either. I didn't want to give that advantage away unless I had a good reason, though. None of the Naga on my side realized I had wings. They didn't know what a human was, and probably just assumed the bulge under my cloak was normal. When we got to the camp and saw what it was, though, I smiled. There was a rough palisade around the thing, with only 2 entrances, and only a few guards posted at each. It was newly night at that point. We had left early, so there would be enough heat on the ground to hopefully mask my arrival to the Naga's snake-like infrared vision. The only guards that seemed to be alert at all were the only guards at the entrance. There was no one paying attention in the camp proper. I snapped my fingers, seeing an easy solution. The soldiers looked at me, alarmed. I smiled and whispered, "When you see an easy way in, to not take it would be sin." I dropped my cloak and unfurled my wings. The group behind me muttered to themselves, seeing them. One said a disparaging remark about flyers, but none said anything to my face. I turned to the leader and said, "If you hear an alarm, come on in. Otherwise, wait for me to come back."
I am very interested in what you are capable of, human. Wings or not, this will be interesting. But if you sell us out, the yellow one's life is forfeit.
Oh, shit. Don't you worry about that, I said, trying to hide any nervousness. Betraying a contract is bad. He just snorted in reply, so I grabbed a flask from my cloak and took off. My goal was an unsharpened part of the palisade wall, one of the structural posts. If I could get up there, I could snipe fire down on the camp. When I got above the camp itself, I saw that there were maybe 30 tents and several more Nagas sleeping outside on the ground. Oh god, I can't believe I'm doing this. I debated on landing on the sleeping field and slitting throats versus starting the fires. What kind of thoughts are these? Doing one meant I might not get to do the other, and while fire could spread, I could probably take more Naga down quietly by cutting throats. Jesus Christ, this can't be normal. I decided to slit throats. My Naga wanted these Naga gone, and killing them off is a better way to go about than just burning stuff. Where did this all come from? Besides, in the chaos of the ensuing fight, fire would be easy enough to spread. Holy shit. And burning the tent would bring alarm up before I was ready for it. So with those thoughts in mind, I silently unsheathed the knife I got from the Naga and landed quietly in the large sleeping field. How did it come to this? Now, while I have killed in the past, I have never killed a sapient being. Thou shalt not kill. When I landed next to the first Naga in the field and looked down at him, I froze. You shall not kill. Such a simple thing, a knife. You, and such a fragile thing, a life. Shall. All it takes is one simple thrust, one jagged tear. Not. And it's over. Kill. Part of me died that night, ripped away with the last gasp of that dying soldier. It was a dark night, a new moon, but there was light enough for me to see his expression as I slit his throat, stealing him away. It was an expression that I knew would haunt me forever. I could attempt to justify it all I want. Yes, I was helping Pinkie Pie. Yes, the Naga I was killing supposedly deserved it. But these were sapient creatures. They could talk. They knew right from wrong. They could think. They could die. And die they did. My body went onto autopilot while my mind went numb. My hands and legs knew what to do, even if my mind was reeling from the horror of it all. 13 died by my dagger that night. 13 blood-red marks against my soul. 13 that soon found themselves in good company, greeting more and more stains on my soul. Before I could find number 14, I was caught. A bloodthirsty roar from across the camp caught my attention and made sure to wake up the warriors around me. This was a very difficult chapter to cut up properly, mainly because of the pacing of this whole scene, so I hope this ending wasn't too bad. Yeah, it's the best I could do with what I got, man. But also, poor Nav. Now that I think about it, he's never really had to, as he said, kill a sentient being. Threaten. Yes, he's threatened, and he's even beat up a few, but he's never really had to kill anybody until now. That is a change of pace, if nothing else. What else is a change of pace is thanking my wonderful Patreons, as well as 2 others. Thank you my tier 1s, Pony Pony Entertainment, Macario, Lord High, Jason, Hyperlink, Chase Lemaster, Balanced Kindness, and a new one, Lost Nebula. Thank you for your support. Night in Game, Sword Brother Mordred, and Dreamless Portal. My tier 2s, Captain Blue Shadow, Chaotic Mist, The Animated Ghost, DJ Max 2000, Elemental Wolf, H1 Wolf King, Patero 20, Mr. Crazy Deacon, Solar Comet, 212 Trooper, Mackenzie McCollaz, Nocturne, Papalena, Redeemer of Dark Souls Eclipse, Sword Brother Mordred, Artie Bryant, Rihanna Dragonwolf, and Steel Spark. And a big thank you to my new tier 2, Saint Gonk. I appreciate your support, friend. A large thank you to my previous Titan tiers, Dark Guardian, Danish Dash, Maverick, and User 1842. A large thank you to my current ones, Bis Eclipse, and Silent Titan. I appreciate your guys' support so much, and it means a ton to me. That aside, however, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.